All right, people. After that beautiful song,
Yes.
how are your taste buds going? Have they started salivating? Are you feeling the hunger? Right. Which one of you wants to have a fish right now? I've got two volunteers. They'll have all of it. Four. I need more, because if all right, we can we are gonna get this fish into your brains after this demonstration, and I can tell you, the way he demonstrates and the way he tells you things, it'll be in your brains forever. So, without any further delays, can we please put our hands together for Rishi Desai, MasterChef 2013 semi-finalist. Welcome, Rishi.
Thank you. Can you hear me? No? Yes? All right, good. How is everybody going? Brilliant. It's a steamy place, Townsville. I like it. Coming from Canberra, which is it gets hot, but it's dry heat. It's not as steamy like this, but I'm getting used to it. So if the fish is a bit salty because I've sweated too much, you know why. um, This is my second time to Townsville. I was here 3 years ago. It's a nice place. I like small towns. I grew up in a small town, so I like being in small towns, and I enjoy the community, the local atmosphere, the small little places in the cities. Like this, I was here last time with my son, and we played in the park, we played in the pool. It's fantastic. So, what I am going to show you, and I call it demonstration, but it's almost like a lesson, is a fish curry. It's very dear to my heart because my mother comes from a little town on the western coast of India, and there's abundance of fish there. So she grew up eating fish, and she taught me how to eat fish and cook food in general. So it is very dear to my heart. So it's called a Goan fish curry, or if you talk to my mother, she'll say, because she's from a place called Malwan, she'll say Malwani fish curry. Um, First thing you need for the fish, of course, is the fish. And for curry, you got to use a fish that's a bit firm. So this one is a kingfish. It's a kingfish fillet, and you can ask your fishmonger to cut it into a fillet size, and he'll cut that. The reason I say fillets because I want the bones in the fish. I don't want the bones to go away. You don't want the bones. I mean, on MasterChef, people used to ask questions. When you serve people, they say, "Oh, there's fish in your." They say, "There's bone in your fish," and you go, "Well, so what do you expect? It's fish. You're gonna have bones in it. Eat it." So you want bones in the fish because bone gives you flavors, and that's why the bones are there. So it's a firm fish, which is a kingfish. You can buy things like salmon is almost borderline. You can use salmon, but don't go to fishes like ling or you can even use mackerel. Mackerel is really nice fish as well. So those kind of fish is good for your fish curry. And as usual with Indian cooking is your spices. So I'm not going to overdo on spices here because my mother told me always less is more. So not overdoing on spices. I've got some raw cumin seeds, and I've got some raw coriander seeds. So what I'm going to do with these is, first of all, I'm going to toast them. And again, it's not a fancy thing that people do of toasting spices. There's a scientific explanation as to what that has been done.
So, Rishi, while you're doing that, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
As quite a few Indian dishes are pretty forgiving in
Yes.
terms of what can go in and what cannot. If somebody had to, say, cook the same recipe with not fish, can we replace it with any other protein in terms of any other seafood?
You can replace it with any other seafood. You can replace it with protein, but it's difficult to, because this is a very quick curry, it doesn't need a lot of cooking. So fish will cook really quickly, but you got to adjust the times and temperatures for things like beef and things like lamb and things like pork, which will take a bit longer to cook.
I was going in the direction that can we use, say, prawns or crabs
Yeah,
or stuff
you
like
can
in
use
the
prawns
same
and
in the
crabs.
same
Yeah. You can
recipe?
use prawns and crabs. That any seafood's good, and seafood's great anyway because it's got a lot of omega-3 fatty acids. And if people, I'll keep using these terms because I'm a scientist. I'm a polymer chemist and I'm a material scientist. So I know the science behind food. So that's when I look at food, it's not just food. It's not the recipe that I've memorized. is because I understand the science behind it. And that's why I love cooking, because I can see the chemistry happening in the pan itself.
So all you fishermen, next time you don't catch any fish, but you've got few muddies in the home, perfect.
Yeah,
The muddies can
excellent.
go straight in.
So maybe a couple of teaspoons of cumin seeds. And with cumin and coriander, always remember they go in equal proportions, because both of them have distinct flavors. Cumin is very earthy, and coriander it's really nice poppy flavors. So you're going to have equal proportions of those, a 2 tablespoons each of cumin and coriander. And as I said, it's important to toast them, because what happens when you toast these seeds is the flavors from essential oils. Spices have essential oils, and the essential oils start coming out of your spices. So when you want to grind spices like cumin, coriander, cloves, cinnamon, it's always good to toast them. Just a light toasting, and you can actually get the aroma coming out, and that's when you know it's done. And the gas is still on, although it's wind's blowing from my right. So I'm going to get them toasted for a couple of minutes. In the meanwhile, I'm going to get some coriander, fresh coriander, that bunch of fresh coriander in a blender. This is a very typical Indian blender, and if you go to an Indian household, and if you don't have this blender, my mother comes from India. She visits me every couple of years, and last year one of these blenders broke, and I've been using one of those Nutri blenders that ones you see now to blend my spices.
The
and
ninjas.
Yeah, the ninjas. And my mother goes, "What's this?" I said, "Well, it's a blender." "That's not a blender." I said, "Well, it is a blender. Try blending things." So it's a very traditional thing. She wants this kind of steel utensil which blends things. She doesn't want to go into the modern Nutri blender
I would
thing.
say, this blender is kind of father of ninjas.
It is actually a father of ninjas. So I've got some coriander in there, fresh coriander. The reason I'm using seeds and fresh coriander is the reason that the seeds will have, again, as I said, earthy flavor, and the fresh coriander, of course, will give you the freshness from the coriander.
So Rishi, I see you still toasting the seeds.
Yes.
What is the indication where the folks would know that this is the time when you take it off the flame?
Well, I don't know if you can see it, the steam or smoke started to come out of that. That means, and I can actually smell it. You don't even have to do anything.
Yeah.
I can actually smell the oils coming out of that. So I'm going to keep that off the gas for a little bit, because I don't want to burn the cumin and coriander. So in my blender, as I said, I've got some coriander, and then you got some dry red chilies. And I like dry red chilies because they pack a lot of punch. But you got to be careful, because they're really, really super spicy. So depending on your spice levels, maybe 1 or 2. If you don't like too much spice coming from it, all you can do is just take a knife, cut it through the chili, and take the seeds out. And the seeds will have a lot of spice. So if you don't want too much spice, take the seeds out of that. And just have the flesh of the chili. And that will give you the flavor of the chili, but at the same time, it won't make you sweat, as I'm doing now, because of the heat.
So are we giving the folks a good heat of the heat today, or we keeping it in the neutrals way?
Yeah, we're gonna be in the middle. And if you go to an Indian restaurant, I was in the US for 5 years, and they've got a scale 1 to 10. What's your spice level, 1 to 10? And you always go, I don't know, what's 1 and what's 10? Is 1 higher or 10 higher? What is it? I mean, I'm doing a 5 on that scale now. So I'll chuck in a couple of chilies.
In the Townsville scale, it's medium. So like
medium.
mild, medium, hot. This is medium.
And I've got some fresh ginger here. Again, wonderful little Asian ingredient, ginger. And there's a thing about ginger. If you take the skin off of ginger, the ginger will be more spicier than if you have the skin on. I still haven't understood the chemistry behind it, but I'll let you know one day. So I'm going to get a 1/2 inch of ginger in English units, and a couple of, maybe 3 cloves of garlic in there. So I'll get them in. 4, maybe 4 for good measure. All right, so that's that. I will chuck in my toasted cumin and coriander seeds in that.
Yeah, I can smell them right here.
Yeah, they're wonderful, aren't they?
So I think that's the biggest indication if your seeds have been toasted or not, is that A, it starts fuming, and B, your whole house will be filled with the aroma of the cumin and the coriander.
So I'm going to get a tiny bit of water to start the process. Ilan, can I ask you to grab all those things here? So I don't have to go back every 5 minutes. And again, the water is going to make it into a nice little paste. So a little bit of water in there. Thank you. And put that thing on. And then trust the technology. It works, hopefully. Yes, it does. A tiny bit of water. Oh, the aroma from that is just fabulous. I wish you could just smell this. It's fantastic.
So you still want the heat on the pan?
Yeah, I want the pan to be hot because the next thing I'm going to do is start cooking my onions.
So if you guys can hear, this blender is just on the setting 1. So it has got 4 more power ups to go. It's pretty powerful stuff.
It's
So
very
if you-
powerful.
if you don't have something like that, as he mentioned, your Nutri-Ninjas or Nutri-Bullets works perfect.
Yeah, the NutriBullet works. Actually, I don't use this anymore because I've clearly broken it, and it's too expensive for me to go buy these days. So I've just used NutriBullet because it does the work, it does the job. All right, so Milan, I'm going to do is make you smell this. Hang on, for the camera before that. This is what you learn from MasterChef. You got
Start
to do
smelling,
what?
guys.
You got to do it for the camera. Otherwise, they come and bug you every 5 minutes. Can you smell that?
Ooh, I just want to eat this just like that. It's no point cooking it, man.
You know what? I mean, things like these, right? I make these things in bulk, and I keep it in my freezer, and they'll last for a long time. Well, if you freeze them, and one of those days, these days people don't have a lot of time with office and
Correct,
with kids. I mean, I know I've got to do my son's swimming lessons and tennis lessons and this and that. Who's got time to cook for 5 hours a day?
And
So-
they, in the freezer, they stay good for a really long time.
That's
So
right. So you make it like this, you put it in the freezer, and you can use it for lots of things. You can use it to marinate your fish and just grill it on the barbecue. You can use it as a chutney, put it on a piece of bread with some butter, and that's delicious. So there are lots of things you can do with these. So next thing I'm going to do is actually start making the fish curry. So I've got some vegetable oil.
And the pan is really
The
piping
pan's
hot.
super hot, and you want the pan to be hot because you're not stewing anything, you're cooking things. And that's the thing with Indian and any Asian cooking for that matter, everything has to be super hot. Pan's got to be hot, the food's got to be hot.
And the people who are demonstrating got to be hot.
Thank you.
I was
Yes.
talking about me, but yeah, sure.
All right, I'll give you that. So a little bit of oil, not a lot, and I'm going to get some onions. I've got a couple of small diced onions in here. I'm going to chuck them in the pan. Get them cooking. And again, a key tip about onions, you want to cook them really nice and you want to caramelize them really well. Pinch of salt when the onion's in there. What the pinch of salt is going to do to the onion is it will start drawing the moisture out because salt dehydrates everything that it touches. So when you put salt in the oil, it will dehydrate the onion and the onion will be nice and brown and caramelized and sweet. Because talking about sweet, if you've noticed any Asian cooking, or any cooking for that matter, if you look at it, there are 4 key things of cooking. One, the sweetness, which comes from sugar or your honeys or all sorts of things. Second is your heat, which comes from chilies or a black pepper or anything that's spicy. The third is salt, which is either from salt itself or you got fish sauce or soy sauce that's going to give you the saltiness. And fourth is this acidity, which is sourness. That comes from your lime juice, lemon juice, vinegar. So those 4 things are key to any cooking in the world. As long as you can balance those 4 things, you will be a fantastic chef. So what I've done here is I've got the onion, which is going to give me that sweetness. I've got the chili in here, which is going to give me that heat.
He's already salivating.
Of course, I've got the salt that's going to come from my salt. And the key 4th one was, I said, sourness. And that's going to come from my tamarind paste. And I love tamarind paste because it's got that deep flavor to it. And it's a bit more punchy flavor than your lemon juice or lime juice. You can use lemon juice or lime juice, but I like the taste of tamarind. And because it's a paste, it gives you the body of the sauce as well.
It does. So I see over here that the onions are getting a bit translucent.
Yeah.
So is that where we go, or we go a bit further than
A
that?
couple of more minutes. I want, because onions are pungent, everybody knows that. They're punchy, they've got lots of acid in them. We want to do is bring all that acid out, bring all the pungency out of that, so the sweetness kind of flows through in the dish. So that's
So
why
a bit of more TLC
a
to
bit
it.
of more TLC to it, exactly. So leave that for a couple of minutes. And you can see this is a very quick recipe. If you make that beforehand, let's say a couple of days beforehand, you can keep it in the freezer, it will take you about literally 15 minutes to cook this dish,
Correct.
because the fish is going to be really quick to cook.
So the next step that we're going to do is put this chili paste in the onion and cook it further.
Before that, I'm going to chuck in some turmeric to that. So I'm going to add a bit of turmeric. And turmeric, as people know, is an antiseptic. Also, it has fantastic color and flavor. So you want to have a tiny bit of turmeric to that.
And that gives that really traditional yellowness to the curry as well.
Yes. My mom used to, when I used to go play cricket, in India, you play cricket. You don't play anything else. You just play cricket. You come back from the oval, you are bruised. The first thing she would do is chuck turmeric on me.
Yeah,
And that will be an antiseptic
Your
for
best
you.
antiseptic, correct.
Yeah. So I think that's done. I can see the onion nice and translucent. And I'll add this paste. Again, you don't have to add the whole thing.
Go all the way.
You can leave a bit out. And because of coriander, it's nice and green.
Right, so just another question that just popped in my head.
Yeah.
Can we go up to this stage and freeze this particular paste and keep that as our base?
You can. Because it's got oil in it, and oil, as everybody knows, is a preservative. So oil will preserve the paste.
Correct.
You can keep it. Just be careful. Things like coconut, if you add, I'm going to add a bit of coconut milk to it.
Right.
But you can also add a fresh coconut in here.
Right.
Things like coconut is going to make it go bad pretty quickly. So you want
Yes.
to make sure you don't add
won't keep,
coconut
yeah,
to it. You want to
okay.
keep that out of there.
Right. So maybe to this stage, guys, if you want to make to this stage and cool it down to room temperature,
Yeah.
chuck it in the freezer. So next time you feel like go and fish, you're halfway there already.
Exactly. And this is where this is a stage where you want to make Indian cooking fusion. So let's say you want to take the next step and make it fusion. You blend it up and make it a puree, and it's French. Suddenly, it's just French.
Yeah, you take it in a spoon, make a quinoa.
Yeah, and then
put it on the dish and then
make a puree, get a piping bag, and start piping things. It's just French. Oh, I love cooking. So I think, again, people ask me, when do you know the sauce is cooked? Because I don't want to just chuck in my fish right now. I want to cook the sauce because, as you know, the garlic and the ginger and the chili and the coriander were raw. Although we cooked the spices, all those 4 things were raw. We make sure they're cooked because we don't want to have the pungency coming through it. So about a couple of minutes, and if you can see it on the camera, I don't know if you can, the oil starts coming out on the side. So if you look at that, the oil's kind of seeping through. That means all the water and all the moisture is gone, and all it's left in there is flavor and oil, which is a good place to be. Now that's done. So I'm going to add my fish to that. As I said, cutlets of any firm fish will do. Bone-in preferable. If you don't like bone, of course, you can go get it cut from your fishmonger. So I'm going to add these 4 cutlets to that.
So we've got bone and skin and all.
Bone and skin and all, yes. It's very difficult to take skin off of a raw fish, but once it's cooked, and if you don't like skin, you can always peel the skin off and eat the fish like that. But I like bone because, again, as I said, bone gives you lots and lots of flavor.
And I think with the fish, if the skin's on, it also gives you a better texture.
Exactly.
Rather than
And
just
I
falling
know,
off.
Milan, you're vegetarian, so you won't eat this. But for vegetarian people, and believe me, my wife is a vegetarian, so it's a very difficult thing for me to be at home because I don't eat vegetables. I don't like vegetables. So for us, it's cooking her separate, something separate to what I eat. But what I do is I make the sauce like that, and I'll halve the sauce. I'll add fish to one part of the sauce, and maybe add vegetables like potatoes or even paneer or even something like a pumpkin or something that's firm and it's going to hold its shape.
May I add the way I would do from here, if you don't mind? This is what us rabbits do. I call myself rabbit because this is what we do. Is I take all my vegetables and cut it into decent chunks and saute them separately, say in a bit of a salt and garlic and tiny bit of oil, and once they are sorted nicely, I would add to this sauce when it's ready. So that way, you know, people who like their proteins can add their proteins at this stage, and people like us rabbits can add their
Exactly. So
vegetables.
you don't have to make 5 different sauces just because you're cooking vegetarian food. You just make one sauce and let people have that from that sauce.
So next time, if you have a huge horde of people coming to your house, and you've got vegans, and you've got vegetarians, and you've got, you know, people who can't live without steak, just keep this made in bulk and just separate the whole sections for all of them. And they'll say, "Oh, you made all of this in one day?" Yeah, I'm a big cook.
Now, what I've done is I've added a bit of water while Milan was talking. I've been a bit clever. Added a bit of water to this paste because it had some left in the bowl, and I don't want to waste any of that. Tiny bit of water, and to that I'm going to add a bit of coconut cream. So the coconut cream is going to give you the body of the sauce, and it's a typical South Indian, Western Indian ingredient to add to any curries, coconut. It's interesting, India is very diverse from food. So if you just look at top to bottom, you start off with colder parts of India, which is your Kashmir and your Delhi and on all the beautiful parts of India, which is really cold. So you've got things like butter, anything dairy is very prevalent up north. So butter, creams, milks, paneers, all those dairy-rich, fat-rich foods are up north.
Whiskey.
And whiskey. And as you keep moving down south, as the country gets hotter and hotter, you reduce the fat content of the food, and it's very prevalent. Then you start getting coconut milks, and you start getting tamarins, which is not a lot of fat content in it. So food changes the way the country changes. It's very interesting to know.
And I guess for all the people who are really into their, you know, cooking skills, the culinary masters, you can also get the drinking coconut that you get. You can get the jelly out of the drinking coconut, make a paste of it, and use that, I guess. Would that be right?
Yeah, my mom would kill me if I use this Tetra Pak coconut. She'll say, "Where's my fresh coconut milk?" And I said, "Well, I don't have it."
I could see a few aunties going, "That's crap. He's using it from the box."
Look, I mean, I respect the traditional way of cooking things, and I always ask my mother, again, I'm adding salt just to make sure people know what I'm adding in there. I respect the traditional way of cooking things, and I respect the way my mother cooks. But if I ask her a question, "Mom, why are you adding this in there?" she would not have an answer to that. She would always say, "Because we've done it for all these years."
Yes.
But that's not the answer. I need a logical answer to why you're doing things. I always want solutions. I don't want
the Gen Y way.
well, I'm Gen X. I'm not Gen Y.
Same here, man.
I'm adding a tiny bit of water, just to, again, give you a bit of curry, because I want to cook the fish a little bit more. And you can see the color of this. Wonderful. And this is green. You don't have to make it green. You don't like coriander leaves, don't add coriander leaves, and the color will change to either yellow or red, depending on the chili and the turmeric. But because of the coriander seeds, the color is really green. Sorry, coriander leaves.
Again, a question here. So if people still want to keep the look of the curry as the green, can they add spinach leaves?
You can add spinach leaves, but spinach is going to give you a different taste of its own.
It would, yes.
It will give it spinachy, and it will be very different to what this is going to be. But you can add spinach. Don't add parsley, because parsley is very pungent.
Very
don't
strong,
add parsley to that. Add coriander. If you don't like coriander leaves, what I do is you can chop up the leaves and get the stalks of coriander, and the stalks of coriander have the same flavor, actually more flavor than the leaves themselves. So add those in there. And I can see it's coming to a bubble, which means that it's almost ready. I'm just going to taste it. I know you can't taste it, but I'll taste it.
It smells amazing.
It tastes amazing too. It does taste amazing.
I could see a few mouths open there.
Just a tiny bit more salt. Again, one more tip for people who think, "Oh, it needs a bit more sugar." No, it doesn't. What it needs a bit of salt. What salt does is salt brings out the sweetness of anything. So I'll give you an example. Next time you're having a bitter chocolate, bitter chocolate, 70%, 80% bitter chocolate, a tiny bit of salt on the chocolate, and eat that. And it will be as sweet as. So the salt will bring out the sweetness of the chocolate itself. So make sure you try that at home, or on the way home, just stop at your supermarket and buy bitter chocolate, and try it. It does work.
So in the same way, what I do is, if I get a watermelon and it turns out to be not really sweet, it's nice and red but not really sweet, tad bit of salt on top of
That's
the watermelon.
exactly right.
It just is beautiful.
It's exactly right. So I think it's almost done. I'm just going to quickly do a taste test again. Just wash my spoon. Oh, it's perfect. It's perfectly flavored. It's got a balance of sweet, salty, hot, and sour. It's not super hot. I'm sure everybody will enjoy that. I think 2 chilies was a perfect ratio for it. So that's done for me. Took 45 minutes to do that. Or if you do it, if we don't talk and if you just do it, it'll take you 15 minutes to do it, but I've been talking.
And plus, if you have the paste ready, it'll take 5 minutes.
Exactly, it'll take 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes. So that's my Konkani fish curry in a nutshell. You can have it with a piece of bread, but traditionally you have it with rice, lots and lots of rice. If you want to be a bit clever, instead of adding, when you make a rice, you add 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water. You can add 1 cup of rice to 1 cup of water and 1 cup of coconut milk and combine them and make coconut rice. And that will be delicious as well along with it. The coconuts from the rice and the coconut from here will combine into really good flavors.
It's a good flow of the whole thing.
It's a good flow of the whole thing. And you know what, have a bit of papad on the side, papadums on the side just to get a bit of crunch in there. So, if you got any questions?
Apart from can I come and eat, we'll do that. But before that, any questions that you like to know in terms of the recipe itself? Or any other questions for Rishi for that matter?
Look, you don't have questions now, that's okay. I'm going to be sitting over there where my face is on the marquee there. So if you have any questions, just come and pop in, and I'll answer all the questions you have. And hopefully enjoy the rest of the day, enjoy all the wonderful food, and enjoy the wonderful atmosphere. So thank you. Thanks again.
So Rishi, I guess we'll have quite a few people wanting to taste your beautiful, MasterChef recipe over here.
Yes.
So can we take our whole thing there? And we can ask people to come and have an interaction
Yes,
with Rishi and have a good taste as well.
Definitely. A bit of a disclaimer, it's got bones in it. Fish has got bones in it, so if you're a bit careful. But apart from that, I've got no issues.
Thank you, guys. So
thank you very much.
I'll
see you pretty soon. I'm going to bring out one of the things that I cooked on MasterChef when I was on MasterChef 2 years ago in the next couple of hours or so. And if you want to stick around for that, well, enjoy food and enjoy whatever festivities here, and then I'll see you again in a couple of hours. Thank you very much.
A big hand for Rishi, please. Thank you. Thanks, Rishi.